With the importance of becoming a global world, we're transitioning into the digital age. And I believe this continent will become the next frontier for this digital revolution as I see it. And the reason why I think this will be the case is because we've seen other countries, other continents develop at a rapid pace, but this one will definitely be unlike anything else we've seen because of the transitions to the new technologies, and the connectivity that we're seeing today will drive this continent forward at a far quicker rate than we've ever seen before. And that's why I definitely believe this continent will be the next frontier for this new digital revolution. From all of my research, I've been noticing a lot of companies and a lot of countries focusing a lot of their energies on this continent. And this continent is the African continent, the cradle of civilization as we know it. This is the continent that we've discovered has been the cradle out of which human development came about, and most flora and fauna developed from this continent, and everything branched out into the world from there on. So this continent has a lot of natural resources, but through some unfortunate activities throughout human history, it has changed a lot, and its significance in the world's development has diminished to a lower level than it should have ever been because of all these untruths that have been told about the continent in the past. It's a very unfortunate situation, but it is one of the things that happened throughout history, and we just have to continuously push forward and try to improve as much as we can as humans. And I believe that blockchain technology will enable a lot of this transition to the digital age on the African continent. From my research, the take-up of the African continent of blockchain technology is so fast because they're not tied down or burdened to the legacy technology that we see over in the Western world. Now, there's a problem that needs to be solved for all of this to happen, and that needs to be connectivity. We need to bring those people living in rural areas online and to give them reliable access to the internet, and that will help to bring people that would have otherwise been unbanked and people who would have otherwise been isolated from the economic activities that do enable countries and continents to thrive in a global economy. We're still seeing a lot of countries focus on siloing themselves in isolation as they would have in the past few hundreds of years. But we really do have the opportunity to become a global world because of the opportunities that blockchain technology is presenting to us. And internet, the social media, all these other things that we've spoken about in the past, they're really going to change the way the world operates and how people are able to interact and to grow wealth and to be able to develop ideas for innovation and much more efficient economic activity. Africa's share of the global population is increasing at a rate far higher than anywhere else on planet Earth. So as an example, the population on the African continent will double in the next 4 to 5 decades. So that's quite remarkable. So I think the continent is sitting at 1.something billion people, 1.13 billion people, or something around that line. And it is said through prediction that by 2050, the population will be over 2.3 billion people. And the average age of the African continent is far lower than anywhere else on planet Earth today. Okay, so that really says a lot. The energy that young people are able to provide, the uptake of technologies, the way they really want to push forward their countries to far better make use of the technologies we have today they're going to be the ones who will be driving us forward. So it makes sense that the countries with the youngest population will be able to add to the labor force much more quickly and much more efficiently over time. Now, I've been paying attention at who and what companies have been looking to Africa, and through my research I've discovered that Jack Dorsey of Square, you have Amazon is building a new headquarters in, I can't remember where it is, but they're building a headquarters there at the moment. You have Akon with Akon City. He's developing his cryptocurrency, which I'll speak about a bit later in the video. You have Dave Chappelle, Stevie Wonder, and so many other people who are realizing the opportunity that the African continent will provide in some way, shape or form in the economic activity. So we can see there's a desire to get access to the young labor force that's available in Africa. And if you're able to train those youths at the right level, then they'll be so much more productive for many years to come. And that's the opportunity that these people and companies are seeing at the moment. And the reason why they want this to happen is that they are looking to bring online a lot of people in these rural areas, and they're trying to bank the unbanked, because there's still quite a lot of people in rural parts of the world who do not have access to a bank account, as an example. And if you have been from a family that have migrated to another country, like say the US, it is very costly to send money via, for example, Western Union or MoneyGram from one part of the world to the other. So if I had to send, say, $500 to my family somewhere in Africa, then I would have to pay fees. There's a percentage fee that you'd have to pay on the amount of money that you're sending, plus you have to pay additional fees on the foreign exchange as well. And Africa does have to, unfortunately, pay a lot of money, a lot more money than you'd expect, to developed nations. And it's a part of the legacy treaties that they've had to sign, and it's really putting a squeeze on the continent and really holding them back. So the promise of cryptocurrency or blockchain is that all of this will be unlocked. They'll be able to send, or they'll be able to have access to the world markets that the developed world has. They'll be able to have access to the same currencies. They'll be able to have access to the same activity, really, as long as they can get the right connectivity, the reliability. And all of this connectivity will require a lot more energy for the billions of devices that these people are putting online, and that will help to drive the innovation in renewable energies available in the African continent, especially solar energy, because the continent does have a lot of access to sunlight readily available that they can make use of on a daily basis. So it will help to drive forward the energy revolution as well at the same time, so it's all welcomed for us to be able to get there much quicker. Some of the cryptocurrencies I've been looking at as examples, we have Ethereum, Cardano and Bitcoin, are really focused on this, how do we fix, or how do we create a platform on which people can create these technologies, these software, whatever they want to create on a decentralized system, on decentralized platforms. So they're really thinking about those specific problems, and that's the reason why I've invested some of my money into those cryptocurrencies, because they're the ones thinking hardest about the problems that are facing the wider world, and not just the specific countries or continents that they were developed in. And again, I've mentioned before, the way you get the most bang for buck is by developing or solving the biggest problems faced by humanity. The decentralized nature of blockchain technology means that no central entity, no one entity has control over an entire ecosystem. So it would really help to get the world to globalization. One of the main ways that blockchain technology is aiding all this digitalization is through digital decentralized identity. And I'll name a few of those examples. So through healthcare records, educational records, financial records, and voting rights. So those are just quick 4 examples. Another aspect is through digital wallets. It will enable people to transact in digital currencies at a far lower cost than say fiat currencies would. They would improve efficiency. They'll be able to send money across the world regardless to where you are on the planet, especially without the need for central banks. So that's the whole importance of this focus on DeFi, which is decentralized finance. That's one of the big focuses. Taking out the middleman, taking out the central banks that control access to their currencies. They'll enable them to receive or to maybe carry out or execute loans. It will better be able to prove their affordability in ways that we haven't seen before, because with the nature of blockchain is that you always ensure some level of immutability. These records cannot be changed by a single person or single entity, so it ensures much more accurate information. So yes, again, Africa will be in the best position, in my opinion, to receive all this revolutionary technology because they aren't burdened by the legacy systems that the Western or the developed world is bound by. So if we look at examples, in the developed world we have infrastructure around the way fiber optic cables are run, and with the solutions that some of these companies are thinking about and developing. So for example, Starlink is working on the terrestrial satellites that they're launching into space. They're able to send signals and able to broadcast signals throughout the world so that people are able to access the internet from different parts of the world at fair cost and fair reliability as well. So those are helping. They won't have to spend a lot of money developing these infrastructure, so that takes costs out of the equation. They'll be able to build out infrastructure much more quickly, much more efficiently, and much more rapidly. We've also seen in the past that countries like India and countries throughout Africa have been able to adopt mobile technologies far quicker than, say, the United Kingdom or the United States, because again, they weren't burdened by all this infrastructure that telecommunication companies had to build out so many years ago. So they were able to just build these mobile communication towers and to be able to get people the mobile access they needed. A lot of people in Africa are already so used to using mobile technology to carry out transactions anyway. So as a quick example, one of the things I recently found out is that people in Africa are already used to using say mobile phone credits to carry out transactions. So if you had a good or service that you wanted to be done, you could exchange mobile credits to someone else who needed it as a way to exchange that value. And I thought that was really interesting, because that's essentially what you'd be doing with cryptocurrency. And we've forgotten that a lot of people, the way they used to use, say as an example, the barter system, it's always about, okay, somebody needs something in exchange for something else, and you have that thing available to offer to them in exchange. So currently I work for an employer. That employer pays me money in exchange for my service. So it's no different to any other thing. So if I had corn and somebody else had pumpkin, we wanted to exchange corn for pumpkin, yeah, that's a valid transaction. We come together in an agreement and we exchange. So the next question I have to ask you is, can you really imagine the African continent becoming this leader in global innovation, this leader in driving the world forward with their youthfulness for decades to come, similar to what China has done? Can you really imagine that, with all of the negative things that have been said in the past about the African continent and what they're able to provide to the world? The world is changing rapidly in becoming a digital one. You might not notice it, but if you're not up with the new way, the new digital age, then you will get left behind. And it's not as simple for me to sit here and say, okay, well, this is gonna cause more harm to humans than anything else we've seen. I cannot say that, because with the way the world is seeking those changes at the moment, is that we do have to at least put ourselves in a position to be able to take advantage of this digital revolution. We've seen so many problems with people in different parts of the world unable to access the same wealth that we're able to in the Western world. We often silo our minds into thinking that, well, it's so easy to do X, Y, Z, then why can't these people do the same? And that's because the systems in which were developed in the developed world do not provide the same solutions for other parts of the world that need to go through that transition of developing. And that's one of the reasons I'm so focused on blockchain technology at the moment and learning as much as I can about this technology, because I too would like to be able to move to the African continent and to be able to produce, to be effective, and to be able to provide even more contribution to the continent in the development of pushing forward in this new digital age. And we've seen other examples. I've mentioned China already, but Estonia was one of those countries that were under rulership by so many different groups of civilization throughout its history. And Estonia has been able to move about 99% of all of their public services online. They even vote online. So if you look at the similarities between what Estonia has already done, and they are using cryptocurrency at the moment, they are looking at blockchain technology to improve those systems, and through that Estonia has become one of the best places to live on earth, and one of the most productive in terms of the technology that they provide within the country. So they were able to transition from one thing to another, and I do believe at some point, as long as the African continent can unite, it will become definitely 100% the leader of this transition into the global world and the digital revolution that's about to happen. Anyways, thanks again for watching. Tavis Liberty out.